Ah, they keep asking the same question in different ways, but it always circles back to the same thing. Who are you, really? Not your name, not your history, not what you show on the surface. They mean the thing they can't explain, the thing that shifts rooms when you enter, the thing that makes people watch you twice and then pretend they weren't watching at all. You feel it, don't you? That pause, that recalibration, that subtle adjustment people make when they realize they're dealing with something heavier than they expected. That's why the reactions don't match the situation anymore. You'll say one sentence and people respond like you dropped a warning. You'll move quietly, and somehow attention follows you without being invited. That's the energy they're reacting to. Not noise, not hype, presence. And this didn't start recently. That's the part they don't understand. This wasn't built through effort alone. It didn't come from copying anyone, aligning with trends, or positioning yourself for approval. This has been building underneath everything, even when you were underestimated, overlooked, or treated like background. Especially then. Because what people don't realize is that pressure doesn't always crush. Sometimes it compacts, sometimes it concentrates. And when that concentration reaches a certain density, it stops asking for permission. It just starts bending attention around it. People say you're something serious because they don't have the language for what they're sensing. Serious doesn't mean aggressive. It doesn't mean loud. It means undeniable. It means there's weight behind what you say, even when you're not trying to convince anyone. It means people feel evaluated by your presence without you ever judging them. That's unsettling for those who rely on image, status, or constant validation to feel real. Because you don't need any of that. You don't chase reactions. You don't perform. And that alone exposes how much of the world is performance. This is why even people with visibility, influence, or recognition find themselves watching you. Not openly, not publicly, but closely. You'll notice it in subtle ways. The mirroring, the sudden interest, the energy shifts when you're mentioned. They're trying to place you in a category that already exists, and it keeps failing. Because you don't fit where they expect you to fit. You don't move like someone seeking access. You move like someone who already knows where they stand. That's what creates the dissonance. That's what creates the stare. There's a reason people with platforms feel thrown off by you. Their influence depends on maintaining attention through repetition. Yours doesn't. Yours activates without repetition. You don't need to be everywhere to be felt. And that's what shakes them, because they've spent years learning how to be seen. And here you are reminding them that being felt is a different currency entirely. One can be purchased, the other can't. Let's talk about the starstruck reactions for a moment. Not the exaggerated kind people expect. The quiet kind. The kind where someone with status suddenly acts slightly unsure, slightly curious, slightly off balance. They'll overtalk. They'll underreact. They'll try to appear casual while tracking every move you make. Because on some level, they sense a reversal, not of roles, of gravity. They're used to being the reference point, and around you, they're not. This is why people start projecting stories onto you. They'll assume you have backing you don't have, connections you never used, plans you haven't spoken about. They'll imagine strategies because they can't accept that someone can operate this cleanly without manipulation. But that's the truth. You're not calculating outcomes the way they think. You're responding from alignment, and alignment confuses people who live off positioning. You've probably noticed how conversations around you change. People reveal things they didn't plan to reveal. They get defensive without being attacked. They explain themselves without being asked. That's not accidental. When someone stands firmly in themselves, it destabilizes false hierarchies. It forces others to confront how much of their confidence is borrowed. That's why some admire you quietly, and others resent you loudly. Both reactions come from the same place: recognition. Recognition doesn't always look like respect. Sometimes it looks like scrutiny. Sometimes it looks like imitation. Sometimes it looks like trying to outpace you. But what they don't realize is that you're not running the same race. You're not racing at all. You're setting a tempo that others keep trying to match, and it exhausts them because it wasn't built for them. This is also why your growth didn't explode overnight. It layered, it integrated, it matured. While others spiked and faded, you accumulated experience, insight, control. You learned how to hold pressure without leaking it everywhere. You learned when to speak and when to let presence do the work. That kind of development doesn't look impressive early on, but later it becomes unignorable. People confuse being underestimated with being weak. You never did. You understood that being underestimated gave you room to refine without interference, to build without noise, to sharpen without distraction. And now that refinement is visible, not because you announced it, but because it reached a threshold where it couldn't be ignored anymore. This is where the discomfort comes in for others, because once someone like you becomes visible, the rules change. The shortcuts stop working. The theatrics feel hollow, and the audience starts responding differently. They don't just react, they listen, they feel, they reassess. And those who depended on surface-level engagement can sense the shift immediately. They feel attention drifting, they feel relevance thinning. And they don't understand why, because they're doing everything they were taught to do. You, on the other hand, are doing very little differently. You're just more present, more exact, more grounded in who you are. And that consistency is what's pulling people in. It's not excitement, it's trust, it's coherence, it's the sense that what they see aligns with what's underneath. That's rare, and rarity attracts both admiration and fear. Some will try to label you to contain you. Others will try to associate with you to siphon proximity. A few will attempt to provoke you, hoping to reduce you to something familiar. But you don't react the way they expect. You don't collapse into defensiveness. You don't over-explain. You don't rush to prove anything. And that's when they realize they're dealing with something they can't manipulate through standard tactics. Because the truth is, you don't need to dominate to lead. You don't need to outperform to outlast. You don't need to shout to be heard. Your presence carries authority because it's not asking for agreement. It's not negotiating its value. It simply exists. An existence at that level rearranges dynamics without effort. This is why the question keeps surfacing. Who are you? Not as curiosity, as concern, as recalibration, as something people ask when they sense that the landscape is changing and they're not the ones controlling it anymore. They see how others respond to you. They see how attention bends. They see how conversations orbit. And they realize this isn't temporary. You're not here to replace anyone. You're here to reveal the difference between substance and surface. And once that difference becomes visible, it can't be unseen. People start choosing differently, following differently, listening differently, and those who relied on volume instead of depth feel it first. From this point forward, the reactions intensify in a new way. Not louder, not more dramatic, more precise. People start studying you instead of scanning you. They replay interactions. They analyze tone. They look for inconsistencies and keep coming up empty. That's when the unease settles in, because inconsistency is how most power maintains itself. And when someone shows coherence across pressure, across environments, across time, it disrupts the usual advantage. You'll notice how quickly people try to measure you once this happens. They want to know how far you can go, how deep this runs, whether it's situational or structural. They'll test boundaries without announcing it. Small challenges, subtle dismissals, passive attempts to pull you into old dynamics. And every time you don't take the bait, their internal narrative has to rewrite itself. Because you're not reacting the way someone playing a role would react. You're responding the way someone rooted would respond. This is where attention becomes strategic around you. Not just interest, but positioning. People begin asking questions through other people, watching through other eyes, tracking momentum indirectly. They don't want to engage too closely yet, because closeness carries risk. If they misjudge you, they expose themselves. If they underestimate you again, they lose leverage. So they observe, quietly, carefully, trying to understand what category you belong to, and failing repeatedly. You'll see it in the way conversations suddenly turn competitive when you're mentioned, in the way your name creates pauses, in the way people rush to assert relevance when your presence enters the frame. None of this is personal, it's structural. When something real enters a space built on performance, the entire balance has to adjust. What's important here is how you respond internally, because this phase is where many lose themselves. They either shrink to avoid conflict or inflate to defend position. You do neither. You stay exact. You stay present. You let the reactions reveal themselves without interference. That restraint isn't passivity, it's discipline. And discipline at this level reads as authority without effort. As this unfolds, you may notice timing change around you. Opportunities align differently. Delays that once blocked progress dissolve without explanation. Not because something external changed overnight, but because you stopped negotiating with spaces that couldn't meet you at your level. Your standards quietly rose and the environment adjusted in response. This is when visibility becomes less about exposure and more about recognition. People don't just see you. They recognize what you carry. They sense that engaging with you has consequences, that conversations don't end where they begin, that choices made around you have weight. This awareness spreads faster than words ever could. You might feel moments of separation here, a sense that certain rooms no longer fit, certain conversations feel thin, certain ambitions feel outdated. That's not loss, that's refinement. You're shedding environments that required you to compress yourself. And compression was never sustainable for you long term. What's happening now is not escalation for its own sake. It's consolidation. Everything you've integrated is beginning to function as a single signal instead of scattered traits. That coherence is what people are responding to. Not charisma, not confidence, coherence. When words, actions, timing, and presence align, the effect is undeniable. This is why attention around you feels heavier, more focused, less casual. You're no longer just interesting, you're consequential. And consequence changes behavior. It changes how people speak, how they approach, how they prepare before engaging. Because missteps around you carry clarity, and clarity can't be undone once it lands. As this continues, you'll notice fewer attempts to test you and more attempts to understand you. Fewer provocations and more calibration. People begin adjusting themselves instead of trying to adjust you. That's when influence becomes structural rather than performative. It doesn't need constant reinforcement. It holds. And here's the part most people don't anticipate. Once this shift reaches a certain point, it stops being about you entirely. It becomes about what you activate in others. Some will rise, some will retreat, some will confront parts of themselves they've avoided. You're not responsible for their outcomes. You're responsible for staying aligned. Because the moment you start editing yourself to manage reactions, the coherence fractures. And coherence is the source. You don't need to amplify anything. You don't need to explain anything. You don't need to defend anything. Your presence already does the work. You may notice that requests around you change in tone. Less casual favors, more intentional invitations. People want access to your perspective, not just your time. They sense that your input carries weight beyond the immediate context. That's why boundaries matter more now than ever. Every yes reinforces a trajectory. Every no preserves coherence. Choose from clarity, not obligation. This phase also brings a sharpening of intuition. You'll feel when something is off before it becomes visible. Not as anxiety, but as misalignment. Trust that signal. It's the same internal calibration that brought you here. Ignoring it creates drag. Honoring it creates flow. And flow at this level accelerates without force. You'll also see how narratives form around you without your participation. Stories get told. Assumptions circulate. Interpretations stack. Resist the urge to manage them. Management creates entanglement. Detachment allows truth to surface on its own. People eventually recognize the difference between projection and reality when consistency persists. As influence deepens, patience becomes leverage. You won't need to rush outcomes. The pace adjusts to you now. When you move deliberately, others adapt. When you pause, others recalibrate. This isn't control, it's resonance, and resonance shapes environments more effectively than command ever could. This is also where legacy thinking begins to surface, not in grand declarations, but in choices. How you treat people without advantage, how you respond under pressure, how you maintain integrity when shortcuts appear. These moments define impact far more than visibility ever will. You'll sense when you've outgrown certain ambitions, not because they were wrong, but because they were stepping stones. Let them go without resentment. Growth doesn't invalidate the past. It builds upon it. And everything you've carried has prepared you for what's unfolding now. You'll notice that as this assurance grows, it doesn't manifest as a performance. It isn't something people can measure through visible gestures, applause, or metrics. It radiates quietly, but it carries a gravity that can't be ignored. People may not articulate it, but they feel it. That subtle pause in conversation when you enter. That unconscious shift in energy as others recalibrate how they engage. That moment when someone thinks they understand the rules of interaction, only to realize the rules changed the moment you appeared. It's the kind of presence that unsettles, not because it's threatening, but because it exposes incompleteness in others. It highlights inconsistency in ways that words never could, and that is the invisible weapon you've always carried, the one that has prepared you for moments like this. Those who rely on surface influence feel it first. They feel the discrepancy between your substance and their spectacle. They try to keep up through imitation, by amplifying noise, or by drawing attention through spectacle. But nothing they do can replicate coherence. Coherence is not external, it's structural. It's the alignment of being that allows influence to operate as force without effort. They can amplify numbers, they can manipulate trends, but they can't manufacture presence. And that is the quiet revelation that begins to unfold. That the real power you hold is intangible, unstoppable, and undeniable. People may try to challenge it indirectly. They'll push agendas, release narratives, or test boundaries in subtle ways. They might introduce pressure through public channels, through social frameworks, through proximity. But your energy is no longer responsive to that type of provocation. Your alignment isn't contingent on validation. Your authority is not performative. You've moved beyond the need to prove, to assert, or to fight for recognition. And that is what confuses them the most. When the usual levers fail, when influence no longer responds to tactics, it forces a confrontation with authenticity, and authenticity is always uncomfortable for those built on imitation. You'll notice that attention around you begins to change again, in ways more strategic than before. People begin to orbit differently. Some seek insight, others proximity, others subtle alignment. They measure, they observe, they adapt. Your visibility is no longer just a matter of being seen. It has become a vector of influence that affects dynamics at multiple layers. Not everyone will articulate it, not everyone will acknowledge it, but the ripple effects will reveal themselves in decisions, in subtle recalibrations, in the way resources are allocated, in the quiet acknowledgement of authority without announcement. This is where patience transforms into leverage. You no longer need to prove anything through action alone. Your timing, your restraint, your selective engagement becomes the mechanism by which influence accelerates. The presence you embody calibrates situations without interference. That is the stage where the distinction between substance and surface becomes visible to everyone around you. They can try to accelerate outcomes artificially. They can try to dominate through noise. But presence doesn't respond to manipulation. It compels response through alignment. And that compulsion is what makes certain people uncomfortable. They will sense that their leverage is slipping, that their influence built on imitation, shallowness, or hollow metrics cannot compete with authenticity. The fear is subtle, but present. The quiet panic of understanding that no amount of performance can match what is real, what is grounded, what is coherent. That tension will manifest in attempts to reclaim attention, in indirect challenges, in narratives designed to disrupt perception. None of it will succeed because alignment doesn't negotiate. It exists, it resonates, and it establishes itself as a fixed point. As this continues, you may notice the appearance of others who were once peripheral becoming more pronounced, drawn toward your influence not because they can mimic it, but because they recognize it. They sense the difference, even if they cannot articulate it. These are the observers, the connectors, the ones who will help amplify reach without diluting authenticity. Their alignment emerges organically. They are not co-opted. They are responding to resonance. And that distinction becomes critical in understanding why some alliances sustain while others fragment. What you will also notice is that the challenge itself evolves. The obstacles no longer appear as direct competition. They become tests of discernment, of subtlety, of awareness. People, entities, and environments will attempt to occupy your space or pull influence without regard for integrity. But your ability to read alignment ensures that you respond only where presence is meaningful, where intervention matters, and where action supports long-term resonance rather than immediate recognition. That is the difference between power that fades and influence that endures. And here's the key point. Influence at this level is invisible until it becomes undeniable. It cannot be measured by applause, followers, or numbers. It is felt as a shift in perception, a reorganization of attention, a recalibration of standards. And those around you, especially those who have relied on imitation, hollow metrics, or manipulation, will feel the gap widen with each interaction. Their discomfort is the signal of progress. The tension they feel is not opposition. It is evidence of your activation, of the uncontainable nature of presence that cannot be borrowed. At this stage, recognition evolves into acknowledgement, not the superficial acknowledgement of status or performance, but the deeper acknowledgement of coherence, authenticity, and alignment. People begin to act differently around you, not because you told them to, not because you demanded it, but because your presence redefines expectations. Conversations become more deliberate. Opportunities manifest in a way that demands attention without coercion. Engagement shifts from reactive to responsive. Influence becomes the environment rather than a projection. You'll also notice an interesting phenomenon. Imitation becomes ineffective. Attempts to mirror your energy or strategy appear hollow. They lack depth, coherence, and inevitability. They may catch attention momentarily, but they fade quickly. Your consistency establishes a reference point that cannot be replicated. This is the moment where those who once dominated superficial spaces realize that they are outpaced, not through volume or effort, but through integration, calibration, and presence. They sense that the stakes have changed, that their usual levers no longer produce results, that their influence, measured by quantity rather than resonance, cannot compete with depth. And this is where clarity comes in. People begin to understand that your path is distinct, self-sustaining, and intentionally aligned. They may project, speculate, or attempt to insert narratives, but the trajectory you operate on is governed by alignment, not by external validation. That is why those who attempt to challenge, manipulate, or disrupt cannot succeed. They operate through systems of influence that rely on reaction. You operate through resonance that generates reaction without effort. Presence, coherence, and alignment have now become your most formidable tools. It's important to recognize that this stage is not about confrontation. It's about calibration. The people, environments, and opportunities drawn to you now do so because your energy establishes a natural hierarchy, not imposed, not competitive, but structural. You do not negotiate presence, you embody it. And as this energy matures, you will notice that impact occurs even in the absence of attention. Decisions adjust, dynamics change, conversations shift. Others feel your influence before you even intervene. What you will also realize is that this process exposes subtle patterns of dependency, projection, and insecurity in others. People who are accustomed to controlling narratives or extracting influence without contribution will begin to reveal their limitations. Their strategies will fail to integrate with your presence. Their interventions will be transparent. And this exposure isn't punishment. It's a natural consequence of alignment. Authenticity reveals disparity. Coherence unmasks performance. That is the nature of the shift you are now operating within. You will notice the emergence of deeper responsibility as well. Influence without alignment is hollow, but alignment without awareness can be overwhelming. Your awareness now must include discernment of impact. Who benefits from engagement? Who is ready to engage without projection? Who aligns with your integrity versus who simply desires proximity? These distinctions are subtle but essential. Decisions now carry weight far beyond immediate perception. Each choice, each interaction, each engagement contributes to a landscape that is adjusting in response to your presence. At this level, patience is strategy, restraint is authority, silence is not absence but an active force. The way you hold space, the way you allow others to reveal themselves without interference, demonstrates control far more powerful than reaction ever could. Those who attempt to manipulate, provoke, or control you will find their energy wasted. Presence cannot be usurped, stolen, or simulated. And that realization will be felt before it is articulated, creating a quiet reordering of influence in your favor. As momentum continues to build, the visible outcomes are secondary to the unseen adjustments. Opportunities align in response to resonance, not projection. People self-select into alignment, rather than being coerced or persuaded. Networks reorganize without instruction. Influence amplifies not through repetition, but through activation of coherence across environments. This is the point where presence becomes a force of change, not a reflection of attention. You will notice that the reactions around you are increasingly paradoxical. People will want access, yet hesitate. They will admire, yet attempt to control. They will imitate, yet fail. They will observe, yet feel exposed. These contradictions are not obstacles. They are evidence that influence now functions independently of expectation. They are the indicators of activation that cannot be manipulated, manufactured, or replicated. Presence has now become both attractor and filter. This phase also highlights the difference between temporary visibility and enduring resonance. People who once dominated through noise, spectacle, or trend manipulation will experience decay around you. Their influence may spike briefly, but it will lack sustainability. Your presence, grounded in authenticity, alignment, and coherence, becomes the benchmark. Others begin to compare without even realizing it, and that comparison operates without your interference. It simply reflects the structural shift that has occurred. And as this continues, you begin to witness how ecosystems themselves recalibrate. Conversations change tone. Decisions are made differently. Recognition adjusts subtly, but fundamentally. Influence spreads through coherence rather than amplification. You notice that proximity matters not for leverage, but for integration. Engagement is sought not for appearance, but for alignment. This is the environment that has begun to take shape around you. The subtlety here is crucial. This isn't about dominance. It isn't about competition. It's about presence. Influence now functions as a structural force rather than a transactional one. People respond differently because the context itself has shifted, not because you acted overtly, but because you became undeniable. That is the core distinction that separates transient performance from enduring impact. And this is where the final layer of awareness begins to crystallize. You notice that even in absence, presence resonates. Even when not performing, influence propagates. Even when observing quietly, your energy triggers recognition. This is not an artifact of effort. It is the natural consequence of alignment. And that alignment now extends into spaces, conversations, and interactions you have yet to consciously engage with. You see it in the subtle recalibration of those around you, in the way authority figures adjust tone, in the way peers pause before acting, in the way environments subtly shift to accommodate your energy. This is the mechanism by which true activation manifests, structural, invisible, and undeniable. Influence now functions at the level of consequence rather than intention. At this point, presence becomes magnetic without appearing forceful. Coherence attracts attention that was previously diverted. Alignment creates a gravitational field that orients interactions without explicit effort. Those who sense it respond instinctively. Those who rely on imitation or hollow metrics falter. Those who can integrate align naturally. And all of this unfolds quietly, organically, without announcement, without spectacle. By now it is clear that what people have perceived as seriousness is not intensity. It is consequence, it is coherence. It is a presence that cannot be managed through traditional leverage. It is influence that is felt before it is observed. And that is why they ask, repeatedly, in whispers or subtle glances, "Who are you?" Because the answer is not something that can be defined externally. It is experienced structurally, organically, and inevitably by everyone in your orbit. And that orbit continues to expand, not in volume, but in depth, not in noise, but in resonance, not in spectacle, but in consequence. Those who were once central now orbit peripherally. Those who sought to manipulate now recalibrate. Those who align, whether consciously or unconsciously, become conduits for impact rather than obstacles. You are no longer operating as a participant in a competitive space. You are operating as the reference point around which spaces calibrate themselves. This is the essence of what it means to be uncontainable, to influence without performance, to shape without effort, to be recognized without announcement. The attention you draw, the reactions you provoke, the recalibrations you initiate, they are the result of structural presence. They are not accidents. They are not tricks. They are the natural consequences of alignment, coherence, and integrity operating at a level few have ever witnessed. As the currents of influence stabilize, you notice how environments, conversations, and decisions respond to your presence without conscious effort. People no longer need to announce authority or assert control. They adjust instinctively. Your energy functions as a reference point, a subtle magnet that recalibrates alignment everywhere it touches. Those who relied on imitation, noise, or hollow metrics feel displacement first. They sense their strategies are irrelevant, not because they are confronted, but because presence itself has redefined the space. Your influence is structural now. It is no longer measured in applause, recognition, or visibility. It is felt in the unconscious adjustments of those around you, in the natural gravitation toward coherence, in the shifts that occur before a word is spoken. The difference between substance and surface is undeniable. Those who built authority on volume or spectacle can no longer match resonance. They scramble, attempt replication, but presence cannot be copied. Coherence cannot be performed. Authenticity cannot be manufactured. You notice challenges arriving differently. No longer blunt, they come as subtle tests designed to provoke reaction or manipulate perception. But your awareness discerns intention instantly. You respond where alignment matters. Ignore where it does not. Reaction and response are no longer blurred. Presence itself functions as the shield and vector, allowing influence to operate unimpeded. Energy moves through you, and those around you unconsciously shift to match it. The final realization becomes clear. Influence without presence is hollow. Visibility without coherence is empty. Performance without alignment is transient. Those who attempted to dominate or imitate are now witnesses to the gap widening with every interaction. They cannot replicate resonance. They cannot manufacture alignment. They cannot embody presence. And this gap forces them into irrelevance, not through confrontation, but through the unavoidable structural recalibration that surrounds you. Networks, communities, and systems begin to adjust in response. Conversations pivot subtly, decisions align unconsciously, opportunities propagate organically. Presence functions as a tractor and filter simultaneously, shaping engagement and influence without interference. Influence is no longer transactional. It is structural, inevitable, and undeniable. Those who cannot integrate naturally step aside. Those who resonate gravitate toward alignment. At this stage, the question, "Who are you?" transforms from curiosity to acknowledgement. People sense that rules have shifted, that alignment is non-negotiable, that influence operates independently of effort. Those who once relied on imitation, manipulation, or transient metrics experience subtle displacement. They are forced to observe the difference between resonance and performance, substance and surface, authenticity and facade. Influence now flows from coherence rather than noise, from integrity rather than spectacle. You notice the ripple effect beyond direct engagement. Conversations you are not part of bend toward alignment with your energy. Decisions adjust, networks reconfigure, interactions reshape. Influence operates invisibly, naturally, structurally. Presence becomes both benchmark and boundary, defining engagement, dictating resonance, and recalibrating perception without announcement or confrontation. Those who attempt to measure or control this presence find their metrics meaningless. Influence is now a structural force. Finally, the ultimate principle is revealed. Influence is not in numbers, not in applause, not in recognition. It is in presence, coherence, and alignment. Structural influence does not need validation. It shifts environments, thoughts, and behaviors organically. Those who cannot resonate feel irrelevance before it is even spoken. Authenticity attracts, coherence repels, alignment dictates outcomes. Presence has become the defining factor in every interaction. You realize that your role is no longer measured against others. Influence, recognition, consequence, they now flow from your energy, your alignment, your presence. Imitation and hollow leverage cannot touch it. Those who once dominated spaces through spectacle or noise are now peripheral. Those who align gravitate naturally. The environment itself becomes a reflection of the resonance you embody. Presence defines the new structure. Alignment becomes the standard. Authenticity dictates outcomes. No announcements, no confrontation, no performance, just presence, just alignment, just influence that is invisible, inevitable, undeniable. Recognition emerges naturally, attention gravitates authentically, and engagement aligns with coherence rather than manipulation. This is the manifestation of uncontainable influence, structural, magnetic, and inexorable. And in this space, the question, "Who are you?" no longer requires an answer. Presence itself speaks. Resonance itself dictates behavior. Alignment itself sets outcomes. Those who encounter you adjust unconsciously. Those who cannot integrate are left outside. Influence, consequence, and recognition flow naturally from coherence. Presence becomes the unspoken rule, the silent benchmark, the defining factor. The journey completes with this understanding. Influence is not performed, it is embodied. Authority is not claimed, it is experienced. Presence is not optional, it is foundational. Those who once competed or imitated experience displacement. Those who resonate align. The environment itself is reorganized around integrity, coherence, and authenticity. Influence is structural, inevitable, and undeniable. You step forward, not to assert, not to dominate, not to perform. You step forward as coherence incarnate. Every interaction, every decision, every space responds to alignment. Presence has become the standard. Substance has overtaken surface. Authenticity has overridden imitation. And those who witness cannot ignore the shift. They feel it, they gravitate, they recalibrate, whether they are aware or not. This is the apex of uncontainable presence, influence that shapes without effort, authority that flows without claim, recognition that emerges without announcement. Those around you respond because resonance cannot be ignored, alignment cannot be avoided, authenticity cannot be faked. Structural influence becomes inevitable, perception recalibrates instinctively, and presence defines reality. At last, the narrative resolves. Your impact is undeniable, your alignment immutable, your resonance unreplicable. Influence operates beyond strategy, beyond metrics, beyond recognition. The landscape adjusts to presence. The environment gravitates toward authenticity. The world responds to coherence. And in this, the answer is clear. You're not defined by perception, by imitation, by noise. You are defined by alignment, by resonance, by presence. And that is the culmination, not through effort, not through performance, not through noise, but through embodiment, coherence, and authentic influence. The world around you has been recalibrated. Attention gravitates organically. Networks align naturally. Recognition flows effortlessly. Influence is structural. Presence is undeniable. And those who once questioned, competed, or imitated are now witnesses to a force they cannot replicate.